Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Actually, I want you to lower the lights right now. Seriously, turn up the volume. We are going to completely dissect the very anatomy of a nightmare. Specifically, we're looking at a terrifyingly brief micro-story known simply as the Nodding Man. In just a couple of sentences, this source material manages to tap into our deepest, most primal anxieties. It strips away all the usual horror tropes to leave us with pure, unadulterated dread.
Each time they check their phone, the figure gets closer. Okay, let's dive into this.
Think about your everyday routine for a second. How often are you just standing somewhere, waiting, staring down at a glowing screen, completely oblivious to your immediate physical surroundings? What happens when you look up from your screen? It's a shared everyday vulnerability that we literally all experience countless times a day. We exist in this comfortable little digital bubble of our own making, trusting implicitly that the world around us remains static, boring, and safe while our attention is diverted. But what if it isn't? The story masterfully weaponizes that exact modern blind spot.
Let's establish the environment here. The setting is described as a late-night laundromat or an empty parking lot. I want you to really picture the mundane reality of this. You're waiting alone. It's an echoing, isolated public space, designed for crowds, but currently, it's entirely, dreadfully empty. Just the harsh hum of flickering fluorescent lights overhead. The quiet tension of a space where time just seems to drag. It's a liminal space, a place of transition where you're just supposed to pass through, not stay. You are supposed to be alone. You expect to be alone.
And then the anomaly is introduced to the environment, a figure standing in the corner. The sudden realization of this solitary figure instantly shatters that illusion of being alone. It creates an immediate, suffocating sense of the uncanny. In an empty parking lot or deserted laundromat at 2 a.m., another person isn't just a passerby. They're a variable you didn't account for. A sudden, unknown presence in a space that was supposed to be completely empty. The psychological safety of your isolation vanishes in a heartbeat.
Now, consider the specific behavior of our antagonist. They aren't screaming at you. They aren't running toward you. They aren't brandishing a weapon. They are continuously nodding and continuously smiling. In literally any other context, a nod and a smile are friendly, socially acceptable gestures, right? They signify agreement, warmth, politeness. But placed in this isolated, echoing environment and repeated continuously without end, they become hypnotic, unnatural, deeply horrific. It suggests a mind that is utterly detached from normal social reality. It's this aggressive, unblinking focus that pins the victim in place with just a facial expression.
This brings us to a deeply unsettling juxtaposition, the illusion of safety versus the physical reality. When we feel anxious or awkward or afraid, what is our immediate modern reflex? We reach for our phones. It's a digital pacifier. We check it to feel connected to a wider, safer world, to distract ourselves from the immediate discomfort. And this brilliantly illustrates the core horror of the source material. The dark irony here is that the very device we check to feel connected and safe actually leaves us entirely exposed to physical danger. By retreating into the safety of the screen, we surrender our visual control of the room.
Let's move on and see how this builds by breaking down the mechanics of terror at play here. This story establishes a very specific, inescapable algorithm of fear. It's like a horrific game of statues. Step 1, the lights flicker or the phone is checked. There's a break in visual contact. Step 2, the figure moves. Step 3, the distance closes. Every single time your vision is interrupted, the penalty is a loss of space. The board resets, the rules enforce themselves, and the threat escalates. You are trapped in a mechanism of your own biological and environmental limitations.
Look at the first trigger. Catalyst 1, the lights flicker. This environmental trigger is completely out of the victim's control. It's an external, mechanical failure dictating the rules of this nightmare. You can stare as hard as you possibly can, forcing your eyes to stay open, trying to keep the smiling figure pinned to that far corner, but the failing electrical grid of a cheap laundromat betrays you. The lights dip, darkness falls for a fraction of a second, and you are entirely paralyzingly helpless to stop it.
Then there's the second trigger, Catalyst 2. You check your phone. So the absolutely crucial point here is that unlike the flickering lights, this is a choice. A fatal, involuntary compulsion driven by sheer terror. The victim's own desperate need for distraction, the overwhelming desire to just look away from the terrifying nodding man for 1 second, actively brings the nightmare nearer. Your own fear forces you to look away, and looking away is the very mechanism that allows him to hunt you. You become an active participant in your own impending doom.
The lights flicker. The hum of the room cuts out for a millisecond, plunging you into sudden, absolute blackness before violently snapping back.
You check your phone. Your heart rate spikes. Your thumb frantically swipes the screen, desperate for the glow of the backlight, desperate to pretend for just 1 second that you are somewhere else.
He is closer. You didn't hear a single footstep. You didn't see a single muscle move. But he is significantly, undeniably closer to you than he was a second ago. The distance has shrunk. The continuous smiling hasn't stopped. The continuous nodding hasn't stopped. He is just right there. This brilliantly crafted microstory strips away all the excess fat of a traditional horror narrative. It leaves us with just the pure, escalating dread of inevitable proximity. It traps us in a loop where our own human instincts, our reflex to look for a digital connection, our biological need to blink, our vulnerability to a sudden power dip, are the very things sealing our fate. It transforms a mundane waiting game into a countdown to something unspeakable. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought to consider the next time you find yourself waiting alone in a quiet, isolated space, staring down at your screen. The lights are bound to flicker again. Where will he be when they do?